Hello and welcome to the latest Historics vidcast with myself, auction specialist Dominic Lake.
Hello.
And photographer to the world's most exotic cars, Thomas Howarth.
Hello.
AKA Horsepower Hunters. Now today we're going to be talking through the hottest classic car tips under £20,000, top tips to get 350,000 Instagram followers, no pressure Tom, and then if you watch all the way to the end, these two are going to be voting on whether I should buy a 911 Turbo as a daily driver. So straight into it, chaps. £20,000 is our budget. Classic cars, best buys of 2022. Dominic, you can start this one. Where do you
I had a look at the cars that are coming up in the auction in a few weeks' time, and bizarre enough, there are the two cars, the one that my dad bought and the one that I wanted my dad to buy when I was a kid. So as a 15-year-old boy, he came home with the Capri 2.8i, and the other car that sits alongside that is the car that my dad ended up buying. The more practical version was the Cortina, 2-litre gear. So Cortina, as you know, came with a whole range of options and badging. So you could start off as a lowly salesman with a 1.6L, and if you were the managing director, you'd work up to the gear range. And we've got in the next sale a 2-litre gear, automatic with a sunroof. And I was having a quick look at the numbers earlier, and I think that Ford made something like 2.6 million Cortinas in the 20 years that model was around. Okay, this went up to Mark V, so you know it was in various stages and in various guises. And of those 2.6 million, 1,700 were still on the road last year. I think that that's a real sound place to put your investment.
Yep.
And also fun, you know.
How much do you think? So we're talking, what, mid-teens,
Mid-teens,
late teens?
yeah, mid-teens. Now, obviously, both I and the guy who owns the cars are hoping that they'll get carried away. But yeah, somewhere in the mid-teens, that's where they're estimated. In fact, this Cortina, the Cortina is a no reserve car.
Okay, so Dom's banking on Ford for 2022 to make you some money.
Nice
So keep your eyes on that. Tom, what do you think?
I've got a few options. Can I go through a few?
Of course you can. Go for it.
So for me, there's only one place to look, one country to look at. That's Germany, in my opinion.
Yep.
BMW and Mercedes. I'm not just saying this because I own these cars that I'm about to mention.
Don't worry. Dom's been discussing things he's consigned. You can discuss things you own. If this,
So first of all, there's one sat there behind us. Yep. Mercedes R129 SL. It's a 500 SL, 5-litre V8. At the time, 300 plus horsepower. It was a quick car at the time. Still today, it's a quick car. I've got actually 3 of them at home at the moment. I went out to the pub in one of them at the weekend over the bank holiday, and the performance for a 30-year-old car is just mind-blowing. And it's a hard-top convertible. I know people that know a lot about cars and don't realise when the hard-top's on that it's not a coupe. They think it's, that it's not a convertible. They think it's a coupe. And it's the Bruno Sacco design, owned by everyone from Princess Diana to
famously
Tupac Shakur. You know, everyone who is anyone in the 90s and still today, I think, has owned an R129. In my opinion, forget the R107, forget the R230. It is and will be the best generation in terms of how it increases in value in the future.
Because they are
in the past 2 years, I think they've doubled in value.
Yeah, you've got a low mileage, lovely example, and they are making good money now. But even good average examples are very affordable and sub 20, which is exactly.
You can get one from anything from £5,000 up to £100,000+, but you can get a really nice one for less than £20,000 with quite a bit of change. The earlier the better, in my opinion. They start to have issues as they get older, but absolutely, weekend car, roof down, 5-litre V8. It doesn't get any better than that for me.
And what a great coincidence that so many of our clients are Tupac Shakur fans as well.
Absolutely. And then the other, I would say, similar kind of era, 90s BMW E38 7 Series. They're on the up. Yeah. I've got an Oxford Green.
Gone big.
I've got an Oxford Green 728. It's only obviously the 2.8-litre straight 6, so the smallest engine. They went all the way up to a V12. But any of those, they start from. I had a blue one before I bought my green one. I got that for £1,500. It was lovely, but then I saw the green one. I wanted that one instead, so I sold it and sold it for a profit actually, and bought the green one. And we went down in the summer. 5 of us went to Monaco in it.
Yep.
Average 35 mpg. Which is not bad at all. Complete comfort. 3 adults in the back. Lovely leather seats.
Complete comfort. They're small adults.
Well, I was driving. I don't. It even still has. It was actually the first ever European car with satellite navigation, and the sat nav still worked. I set it to Monaco as a joke. I didn't follow it, but then I couldn't make it stop. It kept saying turn left, turn right, unprompted. But again, Tupac had one of those. but so did James Bond.
Right, I'm seeing a bit of a trend here. Whatever Tupac's had, you're going for. So mine, and I've spoken to this about before, where, and you're a prime candidate. There's a lot of people are moving into very basic electrification of cars and modes of transport, which I think then throws us wide open to something that we want to enjoy, which I'm sure everyone can appreciate. And I looked across, again, I looked a bit what we've had in the last year and where prices have gone. And my first choice, a bit sort of not what you'd expect from me, is something like an MGB or a Triumph Spitfire, something quintessential, English, simple, manual, noisy, just back to the roots of driving. So a little older, but if you can pick up one a bit like we've got in this auction, we've got a fully restored one, for under £20,000, once we've all been told that we've got to drive electric cars and we can press a button to get to work in them, which isn't totally bad a thing, then at that point you come home and you hunker for something actually a bit more visceral. A petrol engine, the smell, the noise, the ability to break down. So I've gone for a small British sports car. We've got one in this auction which I really fancy. That would be one of my picks under £20,000. The second one is, and a bit like yourself, a car that my dad could never have. He worked for Jaguar as a panel beater when I was a lot younger. And he asked them one day if he could have a company car. He said, no, sorry, we can't give you a company car. What we can give you is an umbrella. But at that time, I remember it was around the time of the XK8, the XKRs were just starting to come onto the press. And they're the better car for me over the Aston Martin DB7. Prettier car, DB7, better investment, possibly.
Well, if you remember at the time,
but better car.
I was working for Jaguar when XK8 was launched.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got the photos in the office of the launch at Mayfair Jaguar in September of '96. The DB7 was still running on the old XJS running gear, and XK8 was streets ahead. Don't want to knock the XJS as I bought one last week.
Let's move on really quickly because it's
no. I'm going to tell you, as you hate them, but I love them, and I bought myself an XJS converter last week, which I haven't even seen yet. So let's hope it's a sensible purchase.
We'll have to see. Perhaps you'll be selling that in the auction next year, or maybe next month.
Oh, maybe.
So my other choice was an XKR. Undervalued real power horse, a bit more subtle, nice cruiser, for instance, same pretense. You could probably get on the autobahns or drive down to Monaco, roof down. It's a really nice car to drive at speed.
400 brake horsepower.
Exactly.
Tom was talking about the 300 in the SL, but
so I fancy those. And again, you can pick up a good one, sub £20,000, and I think they're on the move. So not necessarily the XK, but the XKR, low mileage. They, I think, have got movement over this summer, mainly on people starting to forget about those XJSs maybe and moving forward in the era.
British classic.
And again, there is one, I think, in the auction. John can sign one of them. And again, low mileage. I think he's got it at 15 to 20. Looks great value. That I think is a top tip for this year. So that's 6 cars. You've gone Ford. You've gone big BMW and Germanic, and I've gone British. So we've all gone different flags there, haven't we? Nice. So if you want to link comments and tell us who's right, who's wrong, please do. I'm right. Tom thinks he's right. I'm always right, of course.
Don't invite Tom back
and Dom bought an XJS.
How can you go wrong?
If you do love to watch our podcasts, please click and subscribe. Make sure you can watch the back catalogue if you want. So we've been obviously on this podcast with Vicky Butler Henderson, with Tom Exton, with Mark Perkins, the crazy Mark Perkins, Sarah Crabtree, and of course Ed China, not that long ago. So please do click, link, subscribe, watch the back catalogue. On to our next topic. Tom, you're not only a photographer to these exotic cars, you have amassed an amazing 350,000 Instagram followers.
+1, as I signed on this morning.
The +1.
Thank
so
you.
it was well worth the visit.
Thank you.
Tell us firstly, how did this all start?
Okay, I can go all the way from the start. I've always been a massive fan of cars. I'm from the north of England, I don't know if you can tell. So we'd come on family holidays to London. I'd just see these amazing cars in the streets. You know, we'd go to Harrods, which is a bit of an occasion when you come from the north of England, where all there's like Woolworths. And we would say, oh, let's look around Harrods for an hour and meet back here. And I wouldn't go inside. I would stand outside and watch the car. I can remember this bright red Rosso Corsa Ferrari Enzo coming past in the sunshine. It was just amazing. The first one I'd ever seen. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was there with my little digital camera snapping away. And so that was that. And then it came to being time to choose where to go to university. And I immediately started thinking about where can I go to university in London. So I went to UCL. I did physics at UCL, and I spent most of my time not in the lectures, but in Knightsbridge. and in Mayfair, looking at supercars, right?
Yep.
So any given street, there's a Ferrari, there's a Lamborghini, there's maybe even a Bugatti if you get lucky. So the first night I'm in London, I go out. I want to see what's going on. And I can remember I'm outside Harrods again, and there's a bright, like a chrome wrapped, in hindsight it was so tacky, but it was also amazing, chrome gold wrapped Ferrari 458. And I'm taking pictures of it, and then there's other supercars everywhere. I can't believe it. I'm sending these all back to my friends back at home, like, look at this, look at that. And I meet these other guys doing the same thing. And they say, you know, what's your Instagram? Where you putting these pictures? I hadn't really thought about it. My Instagram was for pictures of like my dinner and things. Yeah, at that point, I was just taking these pictures, as I say, to send to my friends. So I went back to my student flat that evening. I thought about it. I could put these pictures on Instagram. Why not? So I made my own page, Horsepower Hunters, on Instagram, and started just putting up snaps on my phone of everything cool I saw on the street. The page just started to grow. I think I did about 100,000 followers probably in the first year, and that was just from the dedication of trying to be the first person, you know, when the latest, you know, Bugatti Chiron comes over from the Middle East or whatever, trying to be the first person to see that, the first person to upload it online.
How has it changed now? Because presumably there's lots more people doing this on Instagram, on YouTube, on these social platforms. Back then there was 20 of you around a car at Harrods.
Yeah.
Now there are hundreds of people all over the country taking photos of cars.
You just got to stay on top of what the latest trend is. Instagram's gone through these phases. I mentioned videos, and then they started really pushing carousels where you put up to 10 pictures in a slider. And then the latest thing, which still is the thing to do if you want to grow, probably the only thing to do if you want to grow, quite honestly, is something called Reels.
Remember this, Dom?
Reels are essentially short videos. I think they let you do up to a minute now, normally filmed in portrait orientation. If you want them to do well, definitely filmed in portrait orientation. And basically, TikTok came along, and it's people dancing and so on. And that's short videos of the same kind of idea. And Instagram said, we want a piece of that. We're gonna make TikTok irrelevant by doing our own thing. Why would people go and do their short videos on a different app and do it all on one app?
Yeah.
So they basically just copy TikTok. Okay, whatever. And Reels are these short videos, and they're the only way to grow. So pretty much the only way to grow. If you're just consistently posting these, maybe a couple of weeks of cool things happening. Take historics as an example. The star car of the show, maybe the Speciale or one of the SLs rolling into the auction. Video of it coming in. Dynamic, straight away, straight into the action. 15-second clip, maybe with some maybe some 2-pack over the top, you know. That is what does well on Instagram, and you will find
I'll keep them happy.
Yes,
they don't always go viral, but when they do, you can go from having your reel that does 10,000 views to 1 million views, 30,000 likes, and a significant spike in followers. And that's really what it is now to keep the page growing.
You're really talking about that many numbers?
Yeah.
That many numbers. It's amazing, isn't it? You in 1994 could have had, God knows how many followers. Imagine the celebrity people that you dealt with. Sold cars
I don't like to talk about my celebrity friends, but yeah, that part of town, I'm less pressed. But that part of town, it was, do you know who that was? No. Oh, he plays for that, he plays for them. If it was footballers, most of us didn't know, but, it was a great place to work. It's still, like, I can see why you get that excitement out of it when you go around and, take the pictures. It's still an exciting part of town.
Right, so on from your sort of random crap, as your wife or your girlfriend calls it, to me, potentially, I've been thinking about this. The petrol prices have obviously gone through the roof. So I drive a Mercedes Eurowagon boring car daily. We do a lot of mileage here. We travel up and down the country to see your cars. So I was thinking, okay, how can I make this a little bit more exciting? If I'm going to be duffed for the petrol prices, what about if I buy myself an old 911? I don't say old, we're talking modern classics. So 996, 997. And I'm trying to rationalising this in my head. The fuel economy is okay. I mean, the cost of buying is relative, because I think if I bought one at a sensible price, in a year's time I could probably sell it for a sensible price. They're Porsche. They're supposed to be made for daily drivers, sports cars. So
it's going to make you drive like a fool.
Why?
Just because it'll encourage you to do that in the way that you're sensible. Family wagon makes you drive sensibly.
Boring. This
boy racer whiz bang thing is going to make you eat tyres, drive like a fool, lose your licence, get caught for this, get caught for that. You'll use twice as much fuel. Not only
all I know, I'm going to use twice as much fuel. There's a gimme there.
And you'll sell it to your wife by saying, "But it's got 4 seats." I'm sure you will. And then you try and put them in the back. You'll put your back out.
They're only young, my children. They're 5 and 2. They can easily fit.
Oh, the children fold.
Yeah. Just fold them up, strap them in. They're in.
You've started the process of selling it to yourself first, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've almost sold it to myself. I'm sort of looking to you guys for sort of confirmation.
You've come to the wrong place. Our Mercedes-loving friend over here.
Probably Germanic, you know.
No, it's the right country.
What do you think, Tom? Come on. I mean, this is so for a daily drive. Every single day, I get into the same automatic diesel car, and its fuel economy is great. Its comfort's okay, but the moment I get to an enjoyable road, it's dead to me. It's just, and I haven't gone. You know, with small children, you'll get there. The idea of a third car is sort of way off, really. Not for another 10 years.
You buy an XJS.
So I was thinking 997 Carrera, pretty standard model, but you know, enough luxury with it, reasonable mileage, 25-ish thousand pounds. Yeah. Drive it, put 20,000 miles on it
100%.
For a year.
Do it.
Yeah, one service maybe.
Just obviously make sure it doesn't blow up on you, because ball scoring, things like that.
Well,
get all that checked over.
Well, that's
but
where,
otherwise, it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's a big thing. But I mean, guys at home can tell us if you own a 911, 997, 996. Tell me, please, tell me whether I should or shouldn't. Okay, so on to the next section. As normal, we've got a little game to play. So we're going to test your motoring knowledge. Now, I'm just going to slide this out from next to you, Tom, so you guys can't see.
Okay. So the answer's on the back.
They are. So you're not allowed to look. So. This quiz, relatively simple. I'm going to sort of pull out 5 cars, some of which are in the auction actually, what they're sort of selling for or what their estimates are. And I want you guys to tell me what their original list prices were. And then we're going to see who was closest on each of them. The one that wins has the other one clean their car for them, or pay for it to be cleaned, I think. He's only got an i3, it's going to be cheap, it's £5. Sure. Yeah, it's not a problem.
Small car.
But yes, exactly. So, first one, because we've spoken about it, because it's downstairs, 4x8 Speciale. Now, one of these sold, for instance, at an auction last year for $369,000. So they are reasonably good news. What do we think this list price? I bet you know this list price in pounds. Yeah. What was the list price?
I don't know, about 120 or something.
Blimey.
220k.
320.
Really?
Yeah, 320. So sort of where they were when they were brand new. But I suppose we'll see how that.
So do I win that?
I think you win that one by country. By country mark. You were both rubbish, but yes, okay. Now this one's interesting. The SL600. Well, this might not be a truly accurate picture, but an SL600. We were talking about our 129s earlier. The 600's got that great big whopping V12 engine in it.
The step above the 500.
Was it a mid-90s car?
Mid-90s car, 129. Now, interesting, I think you've got to go and photo one of these cars for us, for a client of ours.
Was it about £80,000 new?
120.
It was £80,000 standard new. And what do we think they're worth now?
That's wrong.
Do you think? Well, it could be. Check out. I've looked up and said £80,000. I think the AMGs went higher when you started to get to the SL60s and so on and so forth.
Depends how it was optioned, I guess.
Well, yeah, there you are. So I'm going to give this one to you, but it might be under Stuart's inquiry.
Around then.
What do you reckon? What do you think that would be? I mean, you've got to go and photo.
We're talking about the one coming up in the auction. So there's one coming up in the auction if you're interested to know. He's from Brunei, formerly owned by the Brunei royal family. Special order in Bmw Violet Blue, the only one in the world. And that's only done 2,500 kilometres. Right-hand drive example. I think that's 80k still. You know, if it was 80k new, it's 80k now because it's like a new car.
Yeah.
And the way they're going, I mentioned people are selling low mileage SL280s for like 20k now. It's ridiculous. So 2,500 kilometres, and it's had a lot spent on it. I happen to know. I do know the owner, if it's not obvious.
You'll have to do a good job photoing
all
it now.
The money. Yeah, I'm going to have to take some really nice photos. Yeah.
So we're 1-1. Okay, right now I think this is back into Dom's realm, maybe. The Bentley Continental R. Now these, £35,000-40,000 for nice ones, upwards from there for really low mileage cars, which are rare now because these do Continental. You trying to look around the back of the
No.
they're big Continental cruisers. List
Similar
price.
to the last car, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. We got one in this sale. List price for a Continental.
Gosh, were they about 150?
150 from Dom.
He's got an advantage. He was selling these cars new.
Come on. I'll just go 151 or 149, really.
Ooh, yeah. Well, 160.
Dom, it's 178. It's list price. That was a whopping amount of money for those at the time.
Well, is it
So we are
2-0?
2-1.
It's 2-1. No, 2-0.
Is it 2-all?
I got a special on there.
No, 2-1. You got the special. You 2-1.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, you're winning. It's okay. You don't take that away from yourself, of course.
Or 2-all if you prefer.
Right. Okay. So Jaguar Mark II.
No idea.
Okay. So these are circa. So that's £25,000 for a good one. The bigger engine's a little bit more desirable. You can get them up to £50,000 restored now. But what were they new? Base car. Let's say base car 2.4, entry level, 1956, 59 was it?
£2,500 or something.
£2,500 from Dom.
Probably using shillings when this thing came out. £5,000.
It was 1,344 of your English pounds.
Actually 2-all.
It's 2-2. Right, now this is bang in the middle, guys.
Okay.
This is 996 Turbo. We've literally just spoken about these.
Turbo.
So 996 Turbo, which are circa £40,000-50,000 with decent mileage, upwards to go low mileage again. We think brilliant news, but what were they list price? Basic, no options.
120.
120.
65.
60. Oh, blimey, we've got to do some maths. It's 86. So that.
So why win?
Did you say 120?
Don't get the figures get in the way of a good story.
Tom wins. So Dom, if you want to take that i3 back,
Joe, for a moment, then you both nearly went with me.
say it with confidence,
Yeah. And then
everyone
just
will-
move on.
Exactly that.
25
Right, so before we wrap up, let's run through some news. So we haven't talked much about sort of what's happening at the moment. So first up, new Range Rover, do you like it or not? I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can't have one for about 18 months anyways, unless you're someone very important.
I love it.
You like it,
Tell
do
you
you?
what I saw the other day. I was saying the other day, this must have been 6 months ago, when the thing had only just been unveiled.
Yep.
I'm on the A4 in
Yep.
London, by the big Tesco, if you know it, on Cromwell Road.
Yep.
And the usual thing you see, white police motorbikes, Royal Escort, and the Queen flies past in a full-blown dark metallic blue, brand new shape Range Rover,
New shaped.
armoured.
Blimey, yes.
So,
So first one
if
out.
anyone's going to get the first, it's going to be the Queen.
It should be the Queen, yes.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I really like it.
I've always loved them. Not sure it's different enough from the current, well, I saw the current car, its
Yeah, I
predecessor.
must admit, I felt that.
And
subtle.
if
Yeah.
you watch Range Rover's evolution from the 70s, they have a similarity. That's part of the way that, and they live on that, the DNA, and the similarity runs from the start to the. But I don't think this last one is different enough. But they've addressed loads of the issues from previous, the way that the space works in the back, so it's more executive without giving away to only having 2 seats and stuff like that.
back on the sales pitch, isn't it? He's back on the
Can't help
showroom
it. I can't help
floor.
it. It's just
Yeah, and they're £15,000 more base price, so they've obviously tried to jack them up. I know a friend of mine who has actually not gone for his option on the new one because he felt the same thing, a little bit too the same, and went for the Bentley Bentayga, which I think is why they put their prices up, to combat the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, and that, and the Urus, and all sorts of flash SUVs that you can buy now, but they still probably do it best.
it's still the car I'd go for though.
Yeah, okay, so Formula One. Now, me and Vicky normally talk about Formula One, and the rest of it sort of goes over everyone's head. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, they're obviously looking all right in the construction plan, but generally, do you think they're going to get back into it?
100%.
You think they've just got a few upgrades in the back pocket that's going to come in at Europe and poof, they're off again?
So all they need to do is keep being consistent.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Mercedes are second in the championship.
Yeah, yeah.
They might not, Hamilton might be finishing 10th in Saudi Arabia and so on, but Verstappen's not finishing some of these races, right?
So as long as they
the
keep
fact that
themselves
they're
in
getting
there,
to the end, and it'll only be a matter of time.
there'll be some performance. They've been waiting for some performance upgrades. It usually takes 3 or 4 races until they all come to fruition, and I'm sure. I mean that and with that weird porpoising that they're doing, and anyone else trying to get to Vegas, because I'm trying to get tickets. I want to go to Vegas. I think they've released 2 dates at the moment. So you can't book a hotel on the whim that you can get there. So I've said no, I've got to go to that. No. Come on, Grand Prix in Vegas.
It's not my thing. I don't like Grand Prix, do I?
Do you like Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Win-win. And then finally, classic car scene. We are a classic auction company. It started well this year. We did over 80%. I think Bonham's at Goodwood at the members meeting can have over 90%. So good place for classic car collectors, investors?
I think we mentioned this earlier in the year, that people have realigned their thought process about prices. And people have just become more realistic. Possibly because of the stuff that people like Tom does, that information is more readily available. And it's not just a figure that people pick out of the air. I think that if you can base it on fact, and I think that people just realigned their thought process.
And so you're slowly getting into your classics as you.
I think now more than ever, not someone like me, but people are richer than ever, right? And people remember the Mercedes or the Bentley or whatever that their dad had when they were a kid, and they want that same car now, and they can afford it.
Well, cars
and the prices are going up and up and up.
Cars 40 years ago, 50 years ago were something you aspired to, and there was one in the family. Now they're like mobile phones, really, aren't they? Unfortunately, they become more affordable, and you can own them. It's actually the running of cars that's become more expensive than the owning of cars because of either storage if you need it, the fuel, the tax, the insurance. So there are outlying reasons, but I think, it's in a good place at the moment. Spring, the sun's out, it's always a good time. So it'll be interesting to see how the May sale goes, which is on the 21st, not long from now.
No, not long.
So keep abreast of www.historics.co.uk to see all the cars we've consigned, some of the cars of which we've spoken about.
Yep.
We can see how well we did on our top picks under £20,000 because we mentioned a few in there. Usually I come out on top on that, and Don fails miserably, but we'll see. And he can remind me if not. By the next time we see you, I might be driving a 911.
I hope so.
I will be driving an XJS.
You will be driving your XJS. So if we wrap this up, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this podcast, click the pop-out banner here and you'll have the playlist for all of our previous podcasts, which you'll be able to watch from the start with all of our Z-list celebrities. And our next podcast will be at the auction on May the 21st. We also got a Driving in Cars with Vicky and Tom Exton, which is coming up shortly. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll be driving a couple of cars, including that Speciale. So that will be good fun to watch. But for now and until next time, please stay tuned and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.